Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world today. I would just like to welcome you to this presentation from Transforming Me. So before we begin, I think it's really important just to get across some of the explanations and the words and the language that I'm going to be using today. There may be words that you have an idea of what they are. There may be some new words in here that you've not heard about. So I will do my best to make sure that you understand the words that are in this presentation, and of course if you want to ask me any questions at the end, then please do get in touch. So let's begin. Let's start off with what is mind. Okay, so the mind is a set of faculties. Now when I say faculties, I'm going to use the explanation of this inherent mental or physical power. It includes the cognitive aspects. So you may have heard of cognition before, our ability to be cognitive in our behaviour. It includes consciousness. So at the moment I'm here and I'm very consciously talking to you, but our consciousness and our states of subconsciousness are all driven from within the mind. It includes our imagination. Okay, so our imagination, our ability to be creative, all comes from within the mind. It also includes our perception. So perception is something that many people don't give any thought to, but perception is really, really important when we're considering how healthy the mind is. It includes our thinking and our intelligence. And when I use the word intelligence, I'm thinking about our knowledge and our experience about things, and this can impact our judgment, which is the next point on the list. Obviously our language, so the words that we've learned, the language that we're able to speak, and also our memory. So our memory has been formed from the day we were in the womb, and literally, you know, everything's been programmed and saved. Everything, every taste, every, you know, moment that has happened to us is all recorded. We may not be able to remember it, but it's all there in our memory. The mind also has non-cognitive aspects, so things like emotion and instinct. You might have heard people talking about gut instinct, and I'll go on to talk about that later. Under the scientific and physical interpretation, the mind is produced at least in part of the brain. And this is might be an unusual phenomenon for some people, but the mind is not just sat up here. Parts of the body actually give feedback into the mind and will help the mind to function well. So just bear that in mind as we're talking. Sorry. Right, we'll just move on. Okay, so we're doing all right so far. So let's move on to the next, the body. The body is probably the simplest one to explain. We can all see, we can feel, we know that this is our body. Okay, it's a physical structure. It's our bones, it's our flesh, it's all the organs that are inside, and it's the same word that we use for a person or an animal. So our body is our physical form. And then this is the one that can be a bit tricky for some people to understand. Some people use this this word, the spirit, in the context of religion, and I want to get over a version of the spirit that helped me to really understand why this was important as well. And the graphical image on there should also help create an understanding of what spirit is. If you don't have an idea of what your spirit is, or you're not particularly spiritual, it doesn't matter. And this is why I want to try and get this over in a really simple way. So this is how I understand the spirit to be. It's the non-physical part of a person, which is the seat of our emotions, and the character of what we call the soul. And it's really difficult to explain things that we just can't see sometimes, but it's the part of us that connects to these universal forces. And I'll talk about what the universe is in greater detail in a bit, but it's how we move around on the earth. Yeah, it's how our bodies use the sun and the moon, the energies, and how the elements that are in, you know, on the planet, and the energies that are around us, our actual environment. That's what I see as our spirit. Okay, so it's our human body, but it's our body in its version of how we're connecting out to everything external. So I'm here, in a room at home, and this is obviously my environment, and my home is at, in the UK, and it's on the planet, and this whole kind of energy that's around me and outside of me and outside the house, and in this country, the seas, the oceans, all of that for me is how my body connects out into the greater world. So hopefully that explanation might work for you. Some people will think of it more as a very deep centered spiritual connection, and I like to have that kind of sense and feeling as well. But it's essentially how I connect out into the world, the things that are growing around us, the elements, and that kind of thing. So hopefully that'll help you. So when we actually connect this mind, this body, and the spirit all together, and we use all three, I believe that we do become truly conscious, and there's various things that you do have to go through to be very conscious, and this was part of the process that I went to when I wasn't very well, because I'd become very kind of unconsciously not aware of things that had been troubling me in my past, and part of the work that I do with anybody that works for me who isn't in a good place at the moment is I'll take them on this kind of journey of consciousness to get them to be really conscious about actions, habits, thoughts, all sorts of things. So this mind-body connection and bringing that spiritual aspect in, for me, allows you to just really see and to feel far more conscious about who you are, conscious about the things that you're doing, and how you're basically living your life. So this journey into consciousness that I've just talked about, the transformation of consciousness depends on what it says on here is the successful integration of all aspects of our being. So the Romans used to say, mens sana on corpore sano. I don't even know whether I've pronounced that right, but guess what? It's there. Look, you can read it. And they say it's a healthy mind in a healthy body. And that's what I wish for all of my clients. Anybody who comes to work with me will be guided into that place, not only just fixing thoughts and thinking and mind, but we do focus on how important the body is, because the body is a product of the mind. In a similar way, we need to not only ensure that our physical and our mental health and well-being is good, but also our emotional and our spiritual well-being. And that is where we start to get the conditions where we start to thrive, and we get this supported kind of awakening process of, oh right, did I really used to do that? Was I having too much of that, or was I not having enough of that? And that's when we can start to feel more in balance. So the journey into consciousness is very much a part of transforming me, and it's part of the journey. And as I said, if you want to come work with me, that's great, and I'll go into more detail. But today is just really to give you that insight into why I believe that the mind, the body, and the spirit are absolutely important to take care of. And you don't have to work with me to go and find this information out. It's there on the internet. But I just wanted to challenge you to start thinking about the mind, the body, and the spirit, and if you want a healthy life, to make sure that you're looking after all three. So let's just move on and talk about wellness. And people talk about kind of good health and whether you're healthy, but good health really centers around this wellness and being well. And our minds can actually be well and have wellness when we achieve that kind of intellectual, emotional and social wellness. And this is where many people deprive themselves of knowledge, of improving, of utilizing the growth mindset to help achieve more. So the mind is very, very important for wellness, because if the mind is centered in thoughts of being well, of being healthy, of wanting a better life, of wanting a healthier life, then the body will follow. The body, we can achieve the energetic and the physical wellness, which is where many people start. But what they don't do is they don't actually look after their mind, and particularly with people that maybe are eating too much or relying on drugs and alcohol to bring emotional relaxation into their days. That's where the mind and the body connection is really, really important. In the spirit, we can then achieve that universal and relational awareness. So going back to what I've just said about how we connect in to other people and how we deal with our relationships. And one of the things I also do is not only kind of our relationships with other people, is the grounding thing. It's just truly about getting a relationship back with you. Because many people don't realise when they start to struggle that they don't actually have a good relationship with themselves. So that's another feature of Transforming Me. I talk very much around getting a good relationship, but first and foremost getting a good relationship with yourself, which obviously can ultimately lead to improved wellness. So let's go on and talk about energy. What I want to talk about here is the energy in the concept of all three, so across all the three areas: the mind, the body, and the spirit. For me, the energy from the spirit comes from the sun, the moon, the cycles and the seasons. Okay, we've also got the magnetic fields that are actually around our body. That you might have heard people talk about the aura that's around our body, around our physical body, and these are all taking action and going into the mind. Even things like the vitamin D, for instance, from the sunlight, it's a really simple and easy way to explain this. It's one that science and medicine both support now, and we understand how important the sunlight is. We know that water, we can't live without water. Water's incredibly important for the human body, and these things come from nature, and they come from around us, from our spiritual connections. We need these things. We need these things around us. We need this spiritual connection to help look after our bodies. So everything that we need is actually already in nature. You'll hear people talk around, the fruits, the vegetables, animals, and all those kinds of things. Nature has provided and does provide for us. We know we need the air. We absolutely need air. It's an essential. You can't live for very long without air at all. It's vital for life. And I talk in detail really with my clients about air and the fact that we need this oxygen level to be right in our bodies. We need to be able to breathe properly. The breath is really, really important, and many people who suffer with anxiety and stress aren't breathing properly. They're not oxygenating properly. They're just essentials. For me, the connection with the spirit and the outer doors is absolutely essential, and many people just seem to keep denying themselves the right to be outside, and it's been particularly difficult. Obviously, with COVID, people have been cooped up indoors, but I would encourage you to get outside more and get more energy from being outside. The energy for the body obviously comes from taking action in the body. So this is where, obviously, we've talked about the air that we breathe goes in. We've got the circulation. We've got our own internal body processes, sleep, digestion, healing and reproduction. All of these things are energies that are going on within the body. We've got the energy for the mind. So this comes from our thoughts, our thinking, our memories, our dreaming, and taking action through the body. We don't actually store memory in the mind without taking action. We need thought in order to actually store our memories, and we need thought in order to create energy for us. In a few moments. So I don't know whether you've thought about this concept. Are you in a state of reacting, or are you creating your life? And two simple words, but reaction or creation. And the reaction space or state that many people find themselves in is that they're reacting to the families, to the demands of work, reacting to what their body says, and they're not actually creating the life that they want. They're not choosing enough. They're not having enough control. And when people particularly start to lose control, then that's when stress and anxiety and fear and all those things can really start to come in. So one of the principles, again, of what I do with my clients is I teach people and I guide them through this process of shifting from reacting to life all the time and actually starting to create their lives. So getting a real sense of creation and ownership around being the creator of your own life, getting to choose, choosing that state of mind, choosing that activity that you're doing, choosing those relationships, choosing who you want to spend your time with. Many of us just get dragged into things and situations, and we can get overwhelmed, and we just do things out of guilt, and we think, oh, I need to go and see that person, and and that relationship, may not be a good one, it may not be a healthy one, it may not be one that's going to help feed your own soul and your own needs. So reaction or creation, I just invite you to think about that for a moment. And to see where you are with that. And certainly if you're one of these that's reacting to life all the time, then maybe it's time that you start to consider some personal transformation for yourselves as well. So moving on to talking about motion and power. Okay, so without power or force, there is no motion, okay? You cannot actually travel or move. And actually, without any motion, there is no way to generate more power. So without power, there's no change. And without change, there's no growth. So if you think about a flower, when a flower starts to grow and it changes, from when you plant the seed to the roots coming up to the petals opening, that's all change, and that's what growth is. Many people just seem to sit in this place of not wanting to change. They become fearful of change. They don't like things that are different. They can't cope with it, and that can be a real barrier to success for some people. The other important thing in here is that we actually need elimination. So we need elimination to get rid of what's come out. So if you think about how things enter our body, imagine if we'd never eliminated any of our waste, for instance. Imagine the size we'd be. And this is where we become kind of like stuffed and puffed up, and this can happen with emotions as well as food, as well as drink. It can happen with things in our own environment. We can suddenly become really overwhelmed by things. We can have a lot of things around us. So we need to keep eliminating. Eliminating is crucial for power. You need to get rid of the rubbish. You need to clear out the rubbish, okay? So the out process is equally as important as the in process. So if you see it kind of like as an in, things circulate and then they go out, that is equally important. And again, going back to people's feelings and emotions, they can quite often stuff thoughts in, stuff feelings in, stuff fear, stuff anger. They can hold on to thinking, and that thinking then can get really embedded, and you can keep thinking about it for a number of days, and we don't process it, we don't get rid of it, we don't move it out of our systems. And I see this, all the time with my clients. They're stuck in this kind of cycle of going round and round and round, the kind of indecision roundabout where they're not actually allowing things to come through them. So the motion and power thing is really, really important. Having the motion, having the power to push things in and out, which will create change in our lives. So this slide really explains it quite simply. Life flows through us. When we receive, we can give. So as I've just talked about this kind of if we receive things from people, we can give. Just as I've received knowledge from the people that I've learned from, now I'm able to give it to you. If we receive money, we can then give it out to other people. We can use it. And how we circulate and how we use stuff equally within our bodies and within our minds is really, really crucial. So this is just a quick table that summarizes really what I've just been talking about, Wellbeing focusing on the body first of all. So on the left hand side you'll see some of the things: the air, the water, the food, the vitamins and minerals in there, the light, the vitamin D from the sun, and feedback from the senses. I've not talked about that too much, but all of these things are going in to the body, okay, and they all have a different state, and they're used for different things when they go into the body. But obviously our cells use the oxygen, you know, our whole breathing process is used for energy, and if you don't have enough oxygenated blood, that can also impact your energy levels. So particularly if you're feeling a bit tired or lethargic, you can find that you can go out for a walk in the fresh air and you can feel better because you've been oxygenating and pulling more air into the bloodstream. And as you can see there, you know, we breathe out at 16.4% of oxygen and the 4.4% of carbon dioxide. There's that whole chemical process that's going on with the oxygen and the carbon dioxide. So air does come in and it goes out of our body. You know, with the water, we know that we absolutely need water. We need it for digestion, absorption, circulation. We literally would dry out. I've got another presentation that talks about water levels and how much water you should have. And you know, we are massive amounts of water. You know, we start by being kind of like 70% water, and when we actually age, it reduces quite considerably to sort of like 50-55% of our body is filled with water. So it's absolutely crucial. We need it for saliva, you know, the transportation of nutrients and maintenance of our body and our temperature. We need water to help regulate the body temperature. And we know that it comes out through our tears, our sweat, our urine, and also you eliminate water through your stools as well. So, you know, that can be a big benefit for some people. You know, some people don't realise that even having enough water in the bowel can help the whole digestion process. Food, obviously we've got our vitamins and minerals that are coming, so you know, the nourishment that they give, the new cell growth, the repair processes, as well as the energy generation. You know, a lot of people miss the trick that we do heal, and we heal very well as long as the vitamins, the minerals, the nourishment, and as long as we're not pouring toxins into our body. So the body is quite capable of healing, you know, and even if we do overindulge, it's also very clever. You know, babies, you'll see positing because that's their body saying, I've eaten too much. So we can be sick if, you know, we can bring stuff back if we do overindulge. So we are able to eliminate and utilize that food. It goes in and it gets used and it comes out. The vitamin D from the sun, obviously we need the nutrients to keep the bones, the teeth and the muscles healthy. You know, this was something that was missing from my life. I didn't realise, you know, being a home worker, being inside all the time, I just wasn't getting my vitamin D. My body was literally aching. I thought it was just menopausal stuff, but it wasn't. It was a lack of vitamin D. So vitamin D, if you are missing that vitamin D, if your body is aching, I would urge you tomorrow, just get down the health food store, get some vitamin D supplements, you know, get even some vitamin supplements just to help boost that body, help those organs, because without vitamin D you can feel really quite poorly. And feedback from the senses. So the senses are really important. Obviously they're creating these new neural pathways, the memory pathways in our mind. You know, they're all built through neuroplasticity. This is how the data is stored in our minds. And you know, it all gets pulled out from the subconscious when we encounter an experience again. So if we, you know, if we have a taste or a smell or an experience, or we see somebody, the mind is very, very clever at pulling back the right information, whether it's safe or whether it's dangerous. Okay, so this is the one thing that I will just continually keep repeating to my clients, and it's this concept of thinking plus action equals our results. So when we focus on our mind, when we get our mind in a healthier state, when it becomes in a state of wellness. The memory supports the mind through repetition. It supports that through repeating things to store information, and all of that information is going into our subconscious and then our long-term memory. You've only got to think about the same process of kind of driving, making food, drinks, cleaning our teeth, etc. Our mind responds to all those visual triggers, and our own internal memory and our own belief system and our values. These are really, really important when it comes to wellness, because sometimes our belief system and our values can cause us some problems when we're making decisions, or can cause us stress, or can even make us feel quite poorly because we're holding on to things that we believe that are actually harming us. When we take action on the mind's thoughts, then we do achieve results, whether those results are positive or negative. If we think, oh, I want that, or I need that, when we take action on that thing, then we always will get results. The mind does use words and pictures to create our thinking. Our language and our visual experience and our memories are really, really important when we're thinking about the mind. And again, this is something I teach my clients about, how the mind responds to words and pictures, and how even seeing a visual image of something that's similar to something that may have been a problem for them before. The mind is very clever at protecting us, and it's there to protect us, and we've got our own internal protection mechanism, which can sometimes feel like fear or anxiety, but it's there for the benefit of warning us that there may be a problem. So just think about that kind of state. If you're in a state of inaction around something at the moment, you're kind of beating yourself up around, oh, I should have done that, or you keep thinking in your head, oh, I must do that, I should do that. The truth is, you are only going to get results when you take action. And whether that action is perfect action or imperfect action, you will always get a result when you take action. So here's just a little bit more information before I finish, that for me just really reinforces why this connection of mind, body and spirit is really important. There's this commonly held belief that the chakras, and you might have heard the word chakras, are balls of energy, and certain websites report that this is actually inaccurate. During the time that the chakras were discovered, humans had not actually figured out how to dissect the human body for information, and the discovery of the chakras was actually the first discovery of the endocrine system for the male and the females. It dates back over 5,000 years, and if you do any work with looking at the chakras, it always refers back to each of these glands. So we've got these glands in the body, and for me, at the age where my body was changing, where my body was going into menopause, it was very obvious that one of my engines, one of my glands, my ovaries was going to change, and it was that change that layered on another reason for me to become and to feel that I was poorly. And it was doing some of the work that I went through in that time that made me realize how incredibly easy it is to actually fix the body, how to look after the body, and to really notice what's happening not only on the outside but the inside of our bodies. So although it's really difficult to see these glands and feel these glands, if you start to study them and you start to look at them, the hypothalamus is the one that regulates so many things, but more importantly the body temperature. So thyroid and thyroid disease and that are very common, but the symptoms of many of these illnesses are all very much the same. You start to become dysfunctional, and then the body requires medication. And the truth is that if you actually look after this beautiful body that you've all got, and you may not feel it's beautiful, but trust me, the human body is an amazing thing. There's nothing as clever as what we've got, and body with mind is even more powerful. This internal state, this state that we don't see and we fear, that if things aren't working particularly well, we go and use doctors and that to help us. Quite often, many of the things that people do run to the doctors for and because of are all very, very controllable outside, and a lot of it starts with the mind as well, and it's the mindset training that I do with people, that even though they feel quite ill or poorly for all sorts of reasons, and although they may have been to the doctors and the doctors have said, oh no, that we can't find anything wrong with you, the feeling of not being well and not having wellness most of the time is coming from mind. And it's the thinking processes, it's the habits, the actions, the values and the beliefs of people that I specialise in working on. So I will always start working on the mind, even if somebody comes to me and wants to lose weight or wants to stop smoking or anything like that. Behind these issues, there are mindset issues. The mind has to be looked at, looked into, and the belief system, the patterns, the behaviours, the actions all have to be looked into to make the change and to get the results that people come to me for. So I just thought I'd share that one with you. I'll just, that's it. And as you can see just from this picture, how if you've never looked at the chakras before, there's endocrine glands, like the glandular system that we've got is the chakra system. Yeah, it's the scientific, biological, and accurate terminology. So that word chakra, although it says it, they're not technically balls of energy. They all have energetic actions within them, and they all play a different role. And I believe that the role of the chakras is important when we're considering our spiritual connection. And there's certain meditations and relaxation processes that I do that can help stabilize these functions, and can actually help the body to create its own wellness, and can actually restore the body's ability to go back into healing mode. One of the other things I teach quite early on is this difference between the two nervous systems, and the nervous system that's running the fight, flight or freeze response versus the nervous system that's running our healing responses. And the body can't actually heal when we're stressed. The stress response isn't the healing response. The stress response is a fight, a flight or a freeze response, and it doesn't allow the body to heal. This is why any of you that have had maybe your COVID vaccines may have noticed this kind of overwhelming sense of tiredness when the body needs to put in the healing side. We need rest. We absolutely need rest. And it's one of the big things with sleep that again my clients can be very deficient in when they come to me. They're not sleeping very well. They're not understanding the aspect of rest and how important it is. They're not honouring themselves with rest and relaxation. They think they've got to be busy all the time, and they don't go and have practices like these, like meditating, or even simple prayer, or relaxing and just reading a book and taking some time to learn can be hugely beneficial to the body. So just another kind of an insight into why I believe that the mind, the body and the spirit are all connected to true transformation. I will just kind of make a plea here, and I hope the information that I've shared with you has been really useful, and whatever you choose to do with it, it's a gift from me. It's the stuff that I've learned, it's the stuff that's helped me, and it's the stuff that I will continue to share with my clients, along with rafts of other pieces of information. But if you are not experiencing wellness on a regular basis, or if you're struggling to make improvements in your life, maybe you're trying to diet and it's not working, maybe you're trying to do some exercise and you're finding that you're not sticking at it to get the results that you want, you're kind of giving up too easily. I just invite you to maybe just book a call with me. I do free discovery calls for people. I guide people to the steps, through the steps, to help them find their happy path again. And I want people to have more fulfilled, fruitful and healthy lives. I went through huge periods of fear, almost thinking there was severe illness in me, and it wasn't the truth. It really wasn't the truth. So I'll put that plea out there again. Look, we've got this one beautiful life, and if you're struggling, you're not on your own. I would encourage you to get some help. If it's not me, get some help from somewhere. I would love to work with many of you. If you've got similar stories to me, if you resonate with what I'm saying, it's important with me when I work with my clients that I do connect with them well. And if you are connecting to what I'm saying today, and you can hear that I might be the right person to guide you, then absolutely, just pick up the phone, drop me an email, send me a text, whatever's easiest. Just connect and call out. I'm not going to, harass people and do any of these heavy marketing things. I'm here. I will share what I'm doing. But the best step you will ever take is, by reaching out and getting some help. Because that's what I realised. I couldn't make these changes on my own. I needed to get information, I needed support, I needed help. And it's through that process that I've now learnt phenomenal things, and I'm willing to share them with all of my clients. So just be safe, be healthy, and if you're not ready to get any help at the moment, or you're fine, you don't need any help, maybe today's just helped you think a little bit more about doing a few more things to be even kinder to yourself, and making sure that you do look after this mind, this body, and of course your beautiful spirit. So take care, and just stay safe and look after yourselves.